Welcome to Charts This Week. My name's David Linton. I run Updata, and this week's edition comes to you from London for Monday, the 22nd of February. And we start, as always, with crude. And we've been bearish long term, but in the medium term, we start to see that crude is recovering. We talked about the seasonality. Increasingly, this January low point is looking like a significant low, and of course, we just need to take this higher high that we saw in February. So on Brent, we need to get above about $36 really to just convincingly say that we can see a little bit of a recovery in prices. Correlation with the dollar is positive at the moment, which is unusual, and normally there is an inverse relationship. The correlation is positive at the moment, so strong dollar is probably going to have less of an impact on crude this week. We still are bearish below the cloud here, so until we can get through either very quickly above the 45 level, which is where we see some resistance in the medium term, or we wander out into the sort of $40 level in the next couple of months, we are still bearish below the cloud. Remember last year, this is what happened last year, around the March time, we did get a counter trend move above the cloud, but then embarked on the next downward leg. And this is really highlighted by the seasonality. We've talked about this a lot. The seasonality is such that we go up in the first few months of the year and then we fall for the rest of the year. That's the skew of the trend at the moment. So we see these big sell-offs in the second half. So we really do expect that any recovery is just going to be for a few months and then we start to hit more downward pressure. If we look at Brent on the 60-minute chart, all these prices coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, by the way. We were on the Thomson Reuters stand at eWorld last week, and this is the great thing. Updata sitting on top of your Thomson Reuters Icon and your Trayport data, the ability to bring your OTC and your real-time prices together. So here we see on the 60-minute chart, Shift T gives us the trends and targets. We were just above the cloud. Notice how we're finding support here. We do have these downside targets to about $30.50, but we are still in a bullish upside trend, and there is one to 35.70. So it could go either way, but with that positive seasonality, we do expect to see moves to the upside on Brent. If we look at WTI, we really are just hugging the cloud here. But as we get back above the cloud, this will look like just a temporary breach of the cloud. So Shift T, hold the Shift key down, press T in your Updata system. There are the trends and targets. 31.20 is where we're looking to for WTI. And we're recovering in that area this morning, up a couple of percent on the open. So Brent looking, or crude oil looking pretty strong start to the week. Shift T will give you the trends and targets. And sometimes, so this is on the 1 minute chart, this is for very short term trading. If you just decrease the box size, you get some granularity. We see that we don't have a lot of upside. Notice how these downside ones were given a met. We don't have any significant thrust upside, so we really do need to wait for a pullback and then a thrust offer move. If we look to US gas, here we see Henry Hub. Back to the 178 level, so really bearish below the weekly here, bearish on the daily. We do tend to fall in price around this time of year. We get a little bit of respite in Q2 in the spring, and then we fall away heavily in the summer. That's the seasonality kicking in there. But we are coming back to test this December low, the 165 level. You may remember back in December we wrote a fairly bearish report on NatGas prices long term. We do see quite significant downside potential. Shift T will give you the trends and targets. That's the 138 target there. That's really where we're looking to. Another 23% downside potential for NatGas in the medium term. If we look at the 60-minute chart, Shift T will give you the trends and targets. Here we see we're given this target of 179 that was given on the 11th of February and nearly met, just went a little bit past it. That's bad news, of course. And another one 18th of February 174. So we do have these downward targets nearly met. So watch for new thrust targets. And of course, if you're trading Henry Hub short term, the 1 minute chart, Shift T, will give you the trends and targets. 172 is the downside target there. Notice how all these downside thrust targets given and met. So I'm pretty bearish for the price. If we look at European gas, a bit more bullish this morning, probably in line with Brent. We're seeing the correlation here at the moment is steady and high. This chart, of course, is a chart coming from your Trayport OTC data real time and your Reuters, your Thomson Reuters icon data for the Brent price. So this is a combination of two different data sources bringing this chart real time into your system. Seeing that correlation just helps you see where we are on the correlation map, and it's been climbing all the way through 2015, and now we see on a 65-day rolling correlation basis we're strongly correlated with Brent. Recovering the prices in Brent, it leads to a recovery of the prices in gas. We are bearish on MBP below the cloud, but the 60-minute chart we see here now, we've crossed above. That's actually the first time in a few weeks we've crossed above. We're back into a short-term bullish frame on MBP. So we expect gas prices to have a better week. Shift T, we do have an upside target to 30.65. That's 3.5% upside potential. So worth that. And if you're trading power gas real time, of course, nearly everyone who's trading power gas in Europe is using Updata, running on their Trayport screen or on the Updata energy feed, real time OTC broker prices. Shift T, again 337%, so 30.65 is the short-term target on MBP at the moment, front month. So a lot of people looking at those charts. Here we see TTF below on the daily, the 60-minute just now creeping above. This is quite a bullish pattern. Move off the low, pull back, and then just moving to new highs. That will give us a target as well, that thrust off the low, and we see 1288 is the target at the moment. So we do have these downside pressure, but at the moment we just are pushing back to the upside. Take a look at the 1 minute charts, and we see here with NCG and Gaspool, both on the 60-minute charts, just starting to recover coming through. So that's quite key as well. If we look at power prices, German power, the calendar contract, really did just find a low around this 20 euros mark, and we are just coming back through the cloud on the 60-minute chart. So these are not very long-lived, these breaches, when we do see them, but just now we're coming back above the cloud, so that's bullish in the short term. Probably a better week ahead for German power. 22.90 is the upside target. We're at 21.60 at the moment. Again, these are real-time consolidated broker prices coming in on the Updata energy feed, or you can connect direct to your Trayport screen. Shift T, that's all the Trayport data comes alive. Shift T, and we see here 22.50. Do have a lot of resistance to fight though, and this target is not activated. We'd need a new high on that. That's the 1 minute chart. If you're trading German power, the 1 minute point and figure charts are really valuable. UK power still bearish. Nordic power also bearish, although we're just again crossing through on the 60-minute chart. This is the NordPool quarterly contract. Shift T, 1950 is the upside there, so maybe we're just starting to see NordPool coming through on the recovery. But remember, this medium-term chart is still pretty bearish. If we take a look at Forex prices, dollar has got stronger again. The really big story, of course, we say this every week, is can we break to new highs on the dollar index? That would be a big run for the dollar. We have pulled back below the cloud here. We've seen this before. It's this range, really. If we move below this 95 low set a couple of weeks ago, then that would be pretty bearish for the dollar, but there's no sign of that happening at the moment. Here we see on the 60-minute chart, we're bullish above the cloud. And on the euro chart, this is the daily chart on the euro, we're pulling back to this 1084. On the short-term chart on the euro, this is where we're thinking days ahead. We are in bearish territory at the moment. We're below the cloud. Shift T will give us the trends and targets. We do have a downside target to 106.70, but we do have support here. So it really is a case of watching how this plays out. And of course, if you've got the 1 minute charts, these are very short-term charts. Here we see the euro dollar falling away quite heavily today. This is today's trading, and we are just falling away here. Dollar strength. Shift T, and we need to just change the box size here just to get some granularity. We do have these downside targets to 110 and 110.49 at the moment. So that's the chart that's hanging over us. You see the downward pressure there as well. If we take a look at some other currencies, sterling, of course, big falls this morning, back below 142 on the dollar. All the uncertainty that's going with the Brexit debate in or out, but we are seeing it playing its toll on sterling. See that big move there? That will give us a thrust. That big move will give us a thrust, and then we've moved below. That's activating that move, so that when you see those moves there, you're almost dying to put on your point and figure chart. So we take the 60-minute chart. We're below the cloud is bearish. Shift T will give us the trends and targets. That's that move we were talking about. It's saying 139.20. So we are seeing quite significant downside potential here. Euro sterling, euro looking stronger, back at 78 cents to the pound. 78 pence to the euro, I should say. And here we see the Norwegian kroner weakening against the euro as well, €1 buying less kroner. And here we see it against the Swiss, and sterling Swiss back to this 141 level. So really sterling Swiss starting to touch new lows again. So that's not great. Remember, this was the big move that we saw just a year ago. That 1 day move, we've been in that range ever since, and we try to break above it at the 155 level, but haven't managed to, and we're falling away again. So just need to be aware of that trading range. And here we see the sterling chart really falling away by the hour. So sterling coming under a lot of pressure this morning. If we look at stock markets, first of all, look at the US stock market. We turned bearish long-term with this move below on the weekly cloud, but we are getting a short-term recovery on the daily. Still bearish on the daily. The 60-minute is bullish. We do have these downside targets of about 20% hanging over us. The big thing is today, when the US opens, is can we move to a new high and activate this upside target? If we do that, there is some chance of quite a strong recovery. But of course, the weekly picture is still bearish. If we take a look at the Nasdaq, Nasdaq has held on to its bullish position on the weekly cloud. We're above, below on the daily, and just above on the weekly, and an absence of an upside target here. No big downside targets here on the daily chart, but on the 0.5% chart we do see this downside, and we can just take a quick look at that. We're seeing 19% downside. Lots of support here, but these downside targets are disconcerting. If we take a look at FTSE is back above 6,000 this morning, providing some confidence, but we do have a lot of downside targets here, so this is a counter trend move really. A lot of downward pressure below on the weekly, below on the daily, but we are above on the 60-minute chart, but again an absence of short-term targets. The DAX, here we see the DAX recovering quite strongly this morning. Big move up here on the 60-minute charts, but again, lack of short-term upside targets. That's the real concern. The US has them, Europe doesn't. If we take a look at Asia, the Nikkei had a very bad couple of weeks, of course. Below on the weekly, below on the daily, still below on the 60-minute chart, so not looking great. And the Chinese market, the Shanghai index, was closed the week before last for New Year, of course, but now back into full trading, and we are just seeing that it's turned bullish on the daily. Quite a big move this morning, up 2.5%. So we are seeing some recovery there, but we're bearish on the daily chart, just holding on to bullishness on the 60-minute. Notice how we on the 1% on the weekly cloud. Sorry. Notice how we've come all the way back to test support there. And last of all, take a quick look at the Sensex. More and more Updata users in India, so we like to cover the Indian market. And the interesting thing with the Sensex is that it's the one market in Asia that should benefit from a lower oil price. If we see that, but the key thing is there. If we see that recovery, we just have a quick look there at that. Here we are on the Sensex. So above the cloud, below the cloud on the daily there. So that's quite key. That's it for this week. Until next week. Happy charting. See you.